I call Chris Bishop.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker. It falls to me to close off this debate on behalf of the government, and I want to acknowledge the excellent speeches that have been given in the debate before. I think it's in some ways been Parliament at its best, and I want to acknowledge the Attorney-General Christopher Finlayson, the Honourable Christopher Finlayson, for his contribution to the debate, and also the remarks of my good colleague Mark Mitchell, the Chair of the Foreign Affairs, Defence and Trade Committee, very apposite remarks. Sir, and I also want to acknowledge the very generous spirited speech by Annette King that we just heard in the House as well, remarks I think that the Government and the Committee considering this bill will be reflecting on. Sir, it was the first Chief Justice of the United States, one of the founding fathers of the United States, John Jay, who said that among the many objects to which a wise and free people find it necessary to direct their attention, that of providing for their safety seems to be the first. And throughout history, sir, free and democratic societies have grappled with the appropriate balance between national security and civil liberties. And it's with that in mind, sir, that I want to briefly reflect on some of the contributions we've heard in the debate so far today. Kennedy Graham from the Greens, sir, gave an interesting speech which purported to be a case against sending this bill to a select committee and a first reading. It was an interesting speech. It didn't really make the case for not voting for the bill. Mr Graham said that this was a bill of a constitutional nature and deserved the most serious respect and scrutiny, and I agree, and the government agrees, and that's why it will go to a committee. It's why, sir, the government has introduced this bill after a thorough and conscientious independent review of the intelligence agencies carried out by Dame Patsy Reddy and Michael Cullen, sir. And I do find it interesting because in 2013 the Greens called for a full and independent review, which has been carried out, and this legislation is the response to it. Sir, Mr Graham talked about the two extremes that one could see in the debate around civil liberties and national security. The one extreme of a overly burdensome state that allowed no liberty, that was solely focused on its own survival and its protection and the security of its citizens, and the other extreme, which was a no-holds-barred, untrammelled situation in which the government had no intrusion into the lives of people in order to protect them, and a scenario in which there was no national security apparatus. And Mr Kennedy Graham, sir, asserted that the report of the independent report I've just mentioned, talked about mortgaging the centre ground by assertion in trying to draw a distinction between those two extremes. And sir, I put it to the House that in some ways, of course, liberty and security must conflict. Of course that is true to a certain extent. But, sir, we have Section 5 of the New Zealand Bill of Rights Act, and every constitution allows the balancing of rights and the intrusion upon particular rights in a free and democratic society where that can be demonstrably justified. And I say, sir, that the intrusion into civil liberties for the protection of the collective is one of those circumstances, and I'll come to the exact balance in a moment. But the other point I want to make to the House very strongly, sir, is that while there is a trade-off in some degrees between liberty and security, it must also be true, I think, sir, that liberty and security are complementary. It is very hard to have a freedom-loving people, and it is very hard to have the rights that are in the New Zealand Bill of Rights Act or in constitutions around the world, sir, without security to exercise those liberties. It's very hard, sir, to live in a society and assemble freely, to exercise free speech, to gather with one another in a public sphere or even in a private sphere, when you live in a society that lives under the threat of terrorism, or where there is no national security apparatus that can protect you carrying out those lawful activities in a free society, where you are living in fear of the risk of attacks. Even in an electronic sense, sir, even when carrying out things on the internet, and there are threats on the internet that would deprive you of the ability of carrying out those things that are lawful, sir. So liberty and security, I think, must be regarded as complementary, and that is why that middle ground that Kennedy Graham said doesn't exist, I think does exist, sir. And of course, the real question is finding where that middle ground is. is finding the appropriate balance, and that's why the government has conducted this independent review, and that's why we have the bill before us. So it's been asserted that no case was made through that independent review for this legislation, sir, and that is not true. If one goes and reads that very comprehensive report, and speakers from all sides actually have paid tribute to the very diligent and thorough nature of the report, if one goes and reads that report, you will find the case made for the important provisions in this bill, sir. So the government's objective has been to produce effective, clear and easy to understand legislation that both keeps New Zealanders safe and is also accountable to them. Sir, I have to say I'm a bit disappointed in the Honourable Peter Dunn, who has come out in opposition to this legislation. And he's, I think, sir, seemed to ignore the supportive comments of the Privacy Commissioner and the Human Rights Commissioner. Some of the things he has claimed about the legislation in recent days are not correct. He said, for example, that there's no definition of national security. Well, there is national security definition in the legislation. There'll no doubt be a debate about that. The government's well signalled that, but to say there isn't there is not correct, sir. So it is a little bit disappointing. Sir, our intelligence agencies identify and help protect New Zealand against threats to our security, and they collect intelligence to advance our international interests and enhance our well-being. And as my good colleague Mark Mitchell said in his contribution to the debate, we are relatively insulated from some of the challenges faced by some countries, but we are by no means immune, sir. And the Honourable Amy Adams put on the record for the House the risks and dangers that exist in cybercrime and electronic security, for example, that the quid pro quo, sir, of having an open and free internet where free speech and commerce can flourish. Sir, I do want to briefly mention the triple lock system that is implemented by this legislation. The bill actually proposes a world-leading system of oversight where warrants directed at New Zealanders will be authorised by the Attorney-General and an independent judicial commissioner. And then the implementation of the warrant is subject to review by the Attorney-General. And this has been described as the triple lock, which will ensure that the agency's powers will only be authorised when necessary and proportionate, and the Inspector-General will ensure the agencies comply with the warrant when it is executed. Sir, as my colleague Mark Mitchell has pointed out, and as I've just made mention, the bill defines national security in a way which defines the circumstances when the agencies may direct their powers towards New Zealanders. The government's included in the bill the definition provided by the independent reviewers, and I think it's well understood, sir, now that there is going to be a debate about this, and perhaps there are some shortcomings to the definition. The scope is potentially unclear and unnecessarily complex. We're going to have a debate about that, and that's absolutely appropriate because it's very important that we get it right, sir. Sir, this is the most significant reform of our intelligence agencies in our country's history. I think it's appropriate that we have broad cross-party or broad parliamentary cross-party support for sending this bill to a committee, sir. This is a good piece of legislation. The Foreign Affairs and Trade Committee will now carefully examine it, and I look forward to seeing it return to the House in the near future.
Members, this debate is concluded. The question is that the motion be agreed to. Those of that opinion will say aye. To the contrary, no. The ayes have it. A party vote's been called for. Ask the clerk to conduct a party vote.
New Zealand National.
59 votes in favour.
New Zealand Labour.
32 votes in favour.
Green Party.
14 votes opposed.
New Zealand First.
12 votes in favour.
Māori Party.
Tokoru e tautuku ana.
Act New Zealand.
1 vote in favour.
United Future.
1 vote opposed.
Members, the ayes are 106, the noes are 15. The motion is agreed to.
New Zealand's Intelligence and Security Bill, first reading.
The question is that the New Zealand Intelligence and Security Bill be considered by the Foreign Affairs, Defence and Trade Committee. Those of that opinion will say aye. To the contrary, no. The ayes have it. Call on Government Order of the Day number 2.
Māori purpose